friends, good evening. Welcome back to my channel Deep's One Man Solo Adventures once again. Today I'm going to talk about adventure of a different kind. How many of you like ghost stories? And if the ghost story is set in a really eerie setting like an adventure, say in a village far far away, and it involves a very haunted medal, how will you feel at that time? Well, today I am going to present to you in very short just such a story which had been written many years back by the very great and very famous writer of ghost and supernatural stories called Bibhutibhushan Mukherjee. Bibhutibhushan Mukherjee, who was born in 1921, was one of the greatest writers of suspense, horror and supernatural stories, as well as human interest stories set in the villages of Bengal and what we today call Jharkhand state. His descriptions of nature are extremely poetic, and he comes across as one of the best builders of suspense and horror atmosphere among most of the earlier writers, the writers of the earlier generation. So without any further delay, today I am going to tell you a story written by this great writer Bibhutibhushan Mukherjee. The story is called The Medal. In this story, the story starts in a classroom. It's a classroom in Calcutta where a teacher is teaching a class while the teacher is busy explaining some sums on the blackboard. At that time, some of the students in the class are quarreling over a medal. You know what's a medal? The kind which you get to hang on your neck when you win a sports competition, a drawing competition or any other competition. The teacher sees that two students are actually fighting over a medal. The teacher asks them what's wrong. Then he tells them not to fight. However, the teacher's curiosity has already been aroused, and so he actually asks the students to give him the medal once. The medal, when he sees the medal with his own hands, he realizes that the medal is actually belonging to it's a very old medal, more than 86 years old, which belonged to a British soldier who had fought in the Crimean War. The Crimean War was a famous war during which a famous battle called the Siege of Sevastopol took place. That was in 1854, and this British soldier, who had come to Bengal later on and met the grandfather of this boy in his village, had presented the medal to this boy's grandfather to say thank you at that time when he could not pay the money for a bottle of liquor. He had given this medal which he had won during the siege of Sevastopol in Crimea many years back. Now this medal was in the boy's hand in the classroom. On seeing this medal, the teacher, who is called Suren realized that this medal is a historic medal. He was absolutely shocked and surprised, and he asked his student how he got the medal. And so the student told him that my grandfather had got the medal from a British soldier who had fought in the Crimean War and who had come to our country, India. But the teacher was not satisfied with only this. He decided to contact someone in his own village, which is far from Calcutta, who is a history buff, who knows much about old history. And the next day itself, he boards the train from a station and arrives at the village. Before he can meet that history professor, before that, he decides to stay in the house of one of his childhood friends from that village. After he has freshened up and is going around the village, while he is roaming beside the river, a voice starts speaking in his head. The voice actually tells him again and again to jump into the river and end his life. And he actually wants to do that. He is going to do it. In the end, he realizes that it's like a craving. The voice is telling him again and again to jump into the river, and he is trying to do exactly that. However, using his strong willpower, he manages to go away from the river. Once he is back in his friend's house, he asks himself, why was I so crazy? Why was I going to do that? Again later on, when he is standing on the house of his friend while his friend is cooking dinner, suddenly the voice starts telling him once again, jump from the roof. Nobody is watching you now. Now you jump from the roof. It is a voice in his head. The voice is telling him again and again to jump from the roof. He decides that he is going to jump now from the roof. Luckily, at exactly that moment, his friend comes and controls him and asks him, hey, what are you going to do? You're going to jump from the roof. So this happens a few times. And in the night when he is about to sleep, he thinks, why am I becoming so crazy? Beside the river, I was trying to jump into the river. Today, again at my friend's house, I was trying to jump in from the roof and end my life. Why am I doing such things, and what is that voice in my head which is telling me to do these things? Then he reaches his hand into his pocket and touches that medal given by his student in Calcutta, that old historic medal of the British soldier, and he realizes that the medal might have something to do with this strange feeling he's getting again and again to jump and end his life. Anyway, next morning when he's walking on the road, an old man who knew him from before in his village meets him and tells him, yesterday when you were coming and entering the village from far away, I saw a tall, fair-looking English soldier behind you. The man said, no, I had no friend with me. The man said, but I saw a very, very tall, giant-like figure behind you, like a white man. This really shocks our teacher, who obviously had no one with him, and there was no possibility of any Englishman coming to this village. He again gets a very spooky feeling. Finally, he gets to meet the old man, the history professor whom he had come to meet in the village, and that man tells him that the medal is a haunted medal. 27 years ago, his own brother had got the medal, to see that very same medal, from that boy's grandfather in Calcutta, and had, just like this teacher, had taken the medal to examine it for a few days, and that night he actually jumped from this house and committed suicide. The teacher, who immediately realizes that this must be the same medal and that same voice must have told that man, this history professor's grandfather, 27 years ago, to jump from the roof of the house and commit suicide. So he now understands the whole matter, that the medal is a haunted medal belonging to an English soldier from long ago, whose spirit doesn't want it to be, that medal to be touched by anyone except the family of that boy, that student of the teacher back in Calcutta, to whose grandfather the English soldier had given the medal as a gift. No one outside that family supposed to touch that medal, otherwise they will be provoked to commit suicide and end their life, like this teacher was being told in his head by that voice again and again. Anyway, the teacher gives back the medal. On the way back from the village, he sees a tall bamboo grove, and it was nearing the time of sunset. Behind the grove, he saw what was looking like a tall arecanut tree, a supari tree they call it in India. And in the semi-darkness, he thought he saw a tall English soldier standing behind the tree. like a tall, very tall English soldier, a spooky figure, and calling him, looking at him with big eyes and calling him, come here, come here. He is about to go near that figure standing behind the tree when some people from the village come running with a lantern, a light, and they call him, are you all right? Then suddenly his daze breaks, and due to their voice calling him, he turns his head and he can no longer hear that voice calling to him from behind the bamboo tree. And then he looks again there and he sees there's no one there. He tells the whole thing to the people who have come to search for him, and they tell him this place is very haunted. We arrived at the correct time, otherwise that figure standing behind the tree would have called you and killed you by wringing your neck. Anyway, he manages to go back safely to Calcutta, and he hands back the medal to the student from who had taken, and he stops hearing the voice in his head. 1 month later, comes back to the village and sees that particular tree is no longer there. That tree behind which he had seen that tall English soldier calling him to come to him is no longer there. So obviously, the entire episode had something to do with that English soldier who had fought in the Crimean War so many years ago and had given the medal for safekeeping to one family as a gift. No one else was supposed to handle that medal, otherwise the ghost of the soldier, or so it seems to us after reading this story, would take revenge. So thank you viewers for participating in listening to this haunted story by the famous writer Bibhutibhushan Mukherjee. Bibhutibhushan Mukherjee or Bibhutibhushan Mukhopadhyay was a writer whose descriptions of nature, whose descriptions of the countryside, of spooky happenings are now available in English translation in many places of India, and you can buy his books and read by yourself. In future episodes of this vlog, I hope to come back with more interesting stories. I hope you enjoy. Till next time, take care and bye for now.